So if I first of all introduce myself, my name is Marie Teague and I'm the Head of History at Ysgol Dyffryn Aman. And if I can talk to you to begin with about why GCSE history might be a sensible choice for you, and then we can have a look at what the course actually entails, what it involves. So GCSE history, it will help you to understand how the world you live in was shaped, and it will certainly make you consider today's society in a very different way. Now, employers and universities regard history qualifications very highly, so GCSE history may well be your ticket to a brighter future. Sounds promising, doesn't it? Now, history combines really well with a number of subjects. So very often at GCSE and AS, A-level, I see candidates who are studying, they've combined history and English, maybe considering a career in journalism, for example. But equally, history combines well with a number of other subjects such as maths, business, or IT, which could lead to a career in admin, perhaps. You can see Richard Branson there, famous entrepreneur, can't we? History and science or geography could lead to a career in medicine or travel, archaeology, perhaps. If any of you are interested in digging. Music, history with drama too could result in a career in historical film, TV, or the theatre, maybe. And history and art or textiles, it could lead to a career in historical costume or set design, restoration projects. So there are equally other careers the study of history would be useful for as well, such as law. You can see the police force there as well. I was just answering a question from a pupil in the last session about whether history would be useful for a potential crime scene investigator, which it would absolutely. So in terms of historical skills then, these are the skills that we develop throughout the study of history. And historians are known to have strong analytical and communication skills, which can be put to good use in almost all careers and are well respected by colleges and universities alike. So these skills include good oral and written communication, an ability to be open-minded, so important in today's society, and put together a logical argument. Critical thinking too, so being objective when analysing or evaluating a given issue in order to form a judgment. So there are a number of skills that we develop throughout the study of history. So as you can see, history opens so many doors for you for your future career paths. Objectivity being another, the ability to gather, investigate and assess material, condensing or expanding facts, ideas and arguments, using different types of sources to cross-reference, perfect for going into a career in law, for example. Basing conclusions on independent research, so there are opportunities throughout the 2 years to work independently as historians. You're expected to conduct your own research as well. And organising material in a logical and coherent way. Now, I'd love to sit here this evening and say that history is an easy course, but there is a lot of reading and writing involved. It can be challenging at times, and being able to organise our ideas in written form in a logical and coherent way is very important. So you develop your written skills along the way, which we help with throughout the 2 years. We spend a lot of time on improving our written work. Now, how you're assessed? Well, Unit 1 is on the topic of the Depression, War and Recovery from 1930 to 1951. And this is worth 25% of the qualification. And a 1-hour exam is involved, and this is at the end of year 11, you'll be sitting this exam. You can see there are some images about this unit. So if I can tell you a little bit about what's involved, we look at the Wall Street crash. So we look at 1929 is where we begin, and the impact of the Wall Street crash, which of course happened in America, but it had a huge knock-on effect in Britain. And you may see at the bottom there, there's reference to a demonstration in the Rwanda. So we look at some hunger marches that went on, because obviously people, as a result of the Depression, they were living in poverty, and some resorted to going on hunger marches in order to protest about the conditions they found themselves in. In order to boost morale somewhat, radio and cinema became important in the 1930s. So what we see is a form of escapism, perhaps still is a form of escapism to some extent today, isn't it? Being able to go to the cinema and just get lost, and it gets dark and you can't talk to anybody else. You get totally engrossed in the film that you're watching. One popular film at the time in Wales actually was How Green Was My Valley. I remember reading this book when I was in university and watching the film for the first time. I thought it was amazing. So we look at how people were trying to keep the morale up during what was such a difficult time. And of course, this led into another difficult period, Britain during the Second World War. So we can see the impact of the Blitz there, a heavy bombing raid. But also in the bottom left-hand corner, we can see some children being evacuated. And what I love every year is that children bring to the classroom so many stories that they've heard from home about rationing, about evacuation as well. We talk also about the Dig for Victory and how such propaganda posters, as you can see in the top left-hand corner there, were used in order to convince the British public to think or act in a certain way, to get everybody rallying behind Britain's war effort. Then we see the victory of the Labour Party. So obviously there were a human cost, a human sacrifice involved in the Second World War, an economic one, but politics changed somewhat too. So we look at the victory of the Labour Party in the general election of 1945 and reforms that came about. So we can see an Iron Bevan there. We look at the establishment of the NHS. Unit 2 then is on the topic of Germany in transition from 1919 to 1939. And this is again with 25% of the qualification and involves a written exam at the end of year 11. So we begin by looking at Germany at the end of the First World War, the impact of the Treaty of Versailles and what this meant for Germany, in particular for Weimar Germany, so the establishment of the new democratic regime, something that was that the German people hadn't been accustomed to previously. The hyperinflation crisis, which soon followed, partly as a result of reparation payments that were being made because of the Treaty of Versailles and the way that Germany was punished for its involvement in the First World War. The rise of Hitler and the Nazis. Here we can see some propaganda posters, so the burning of the Reichstag building, a very powerful image in the middle. Pressure was put on people to vote for one leader, Hitler. We think as well about the social and racial policies of the Nazi Party. We look at the impact or the experience of different groups in Germany, women, children, Jews as well, to name just a few there. And Hitler's foreign policy. So this brings us up to 1939, but I always do spend a little bit of time as well with my classes, and we have a look at the war years 1939 to 45 as well. So finally, Unit 3 is a relatively new unit for us on the topic of crime and punishment from 1500 to the present day. And this is an hour and 15 minutes with 30% of the qualification now. And pupils sit this exam at the end of year 10. It involves looking at the causes and nature of crime over time, from 1500 to the present day. the types of crime that prevailed. We look at patterns, if there are any similarities and differences throughout. We break it down into 3 historical eras. Law enforcement, so crime detection, and punishment as well. It's a fascinating topic and pupils are really enjoying this. And then there's a study of Merthyr Tydfil, so a case study. So we look at the Welsh historical context as often as possible. So here we can see the burning of some heretics going right back to the 1500s and of course up to the present day, the development of the police force as we know it today. And there is the coursework, which is 20% of the overall qualification as well. At the moment it's on the topic of Owain Glyndŵr, but this will change next year to the Second World War. And if I can just tell you about the study of history through the medium of Welsh, because obviously I've delivered this presentation through the medium of English tonight, but if there are any questions that may be coming, if I can just point out that a lot of people are worried that history will be a challenging subject through the medium of Welsh. A lot of pupils we find are already familiar with keywords and vocabulary in Welsh anyway by the time they get to GCSE, but teachers are always there to ensure support's given for pupils through the studying through the medium of Welsh. There are English versions of notes available on Google Classroom, so any parents at home who don't speak Welsh can help provide support where necessary. And even when it comes to the exam, there is an opportunity for candidates to look at the exam paper in Welsh and in English too. Trips, it's a little bit difficult to plan ahead, obviously, with trips at the moment, but there have been some wonderful experiences enjoyed by pupils over the years to places like Berlin, Auschwitz. So if I just come back to you all for a moment then, just to check if there are any questions, if there's anything else. What I would encourage you as well to do is to contact me again if there are any pressing questions or speak with your subject teachers. If you want to find out any more information, with my classes, I often get some GCSE files to show people so you can see what's involved. So diolch yn fawr, everybody. Thank you for coming along, and I'm here, obviously, if you want to ask any more questions. Did you want